Hello and welcome to Coconut Chats, everyone. Today you've got your host, Harita, and today I'm joined with two guests from India. So Dr. Neha Saxena and her husband, Dr. Tarun Shrivastava, are both postgraduate dentists who had a love marriage. The work conditions for dentists in India are not very good, and despite being a difficult qualification and a highly respected profession, they're not paid very highly, especially in the first few years of their job. Neha got pregnant 2 years after they got married, and that was when Tarun made the decision to work at Neha's father's dental clinic, as the conditions were better there and he could have flexibility in his schedule and also be a stay-at-home father to their children. While Neha returned back to the clinic that she used to work at when the children were young. They now have a 7-year-old and an 8-month-old, and this arrangement of having a stay-at-home father is working well in their family. Welcome, Neha and Tarun. How are you?
Thanks a lot, ma'am, for inviting us on Coconut
We're
Chats,
good.
ma'am.
Thank you for having us here.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's really nice to talk about something a little bit different, how you said you're a stay-at-home father, and I think that's still a concept that a lot of people are not very familiar with, so it's good to have someone to talk to about it. So Neha, how long after giving birth did you return back to work, I guess with both of your children?
Yes, after 2 months, I guess, after my daughter was born, 2 months after that, I had to return to work because I worked in a dental college where most of the dental college, we have 7 dental college in the state. So Uttar Pradesh is the largest state of India, and we have about
Yes, nearly
seven dental college here, and the work conditions are really poor. So because of that much of saturation, we are not paid very well. So, and the maternity leave is just it's a crime to ask for a maternity leave. So I had written an application for about 3 months, and there was a constant pressure on me in from the college to return to work, and I was also not very comfortable staying back because of the pressure. So I had to return after 2 to 2.5 months.
Wow, that's not very long at all. Like, I live in New Zealand, and here you can get up to 1 year maternity leave. Obviously not paid, only 2 or 3 months is paid, but you can take the rest of the time unpaid leave and your job will still be open for you, no matter what profession you're in here.
Yeah, that is true for government jobs here also. We get 182 days, and it's fully paid, and you get to keep your jobs. But we work in the private sector, so
Oh, so rules in the private sector are different to the laws in government jobs.
definitely we don't have any checks on the colleges, and we don't have anyone monitoring such kinds of leaves. So
Wow, that's really hard.
Yes, I wanted to, if I may, ma'am. Ma'am, basically in private sectors, what we are facing right now, and that's since there is no check, ma'am. So when they get to know, ma'am, that one of the faculties is either pregnant, ma'am. So what they do is, ma'am, they get to any reason what they on why they don't want to continue with the faculty, ma'am. So before they even apply for the maternity leave, ma'am, they just ask them to leave, ma'am, because they know that if she applies for maternity leave, ma'am, then if she goes to any court, ma'am, then they have to face some legal consequences, ma'am. So before applying for the maternity leave, they ask them to leave, ma'am. That's the scenario basically. And I have heard some same things in happening in foreign countries also, and that they give a probation period, ma'am. So such ladies, ma'am, who are young and they may get pregnant. So these kind of things, ma'am, which you don't imagine, ma'am, like may happen to them. They do is, ma'am, they either put them on probation period or they ask them to leave, giving any reason, ma'am, which you can't imagine also.
Oh, that's really hard. So when you made the decision to go back to work and Doran for you to then quit your job and then work in your father-in-law's dental practice. How did your families respond to this, I guess, unconventional path? What were their responses, and how do you think it impacted on your children, if there was any impact?
Yes, the answer to the first part of the question, how did they respond? All hell broke loose in our household. In our in-laws' place, also both of our respected in-laws, they were like really mad at us. That why are you quitting your jobs? Because worldwide, when the middle class people they are identified by their ability to keep jobs and keep working. We don't quit jobs, but no one really knows what was going around with us. So we just decided to quit the jobs, and we just decided that it'll all pass in a month or two, and let's wait. And there were unnecessary work pressures going on in his college also and in mine also. So, and uh, honestly speaking, I didn't have the courage to leave my job at that time. So he decided that he would leave. And I was then around 6 months pregnant. 6 months pregnant, and I would give all the credit to him, because he decided in advance that if I don't leave now, and if I don't establish my practice, then we will not be able to continue that in future, because it will be becoming more and more hard to leave if we stay longer. So he just left, and he started working at my father's clinic. And I have to tell you that working with him is also not easy, because he's a very he's a very conservative man, and he's a very senior dentist, around 45 years of experience.
Yeah.
And we have a big generation gap, and there is a lot of difference of opinion in the workplace. So
Yeah.
it was hard.
But I
And
guess
yeah.
you're thinking of you're thinking of your family, and at least if you're working with your father-in-law, then at least if you have to finish work early one day for the children and all of that, then that flexibility is there.
Yeah.
That's like, one of the things, like everyone that has children, they always say, you have to make sacrifices for your family and for your children's future, right? And I guess this is one of them, that there's more safety working with family than working for a private practice where you're not even allowed 2 or 3 months maternity leave.
Definitely.
No, that's what exactly happened, ma'am. Basically, just as Dr. Neha said, ma'am, that she wants to give credit, ma'am. But exactly, ma'am, this is not the thing, ma'am. If you want to do something, ma'am, it's like as the feminism aspect is getting, ma'am, along with the most of the men in our country, ma'am. This is the thing, ma'am. That it's not the thing that you have done something. Ma'am, it's the way that it has to go like this, ma'am. For example, if I have seen, ma'am, that my wife is pregnant, ma'am, and what will happen after 3 months? Because I also knew that, ma'am, in the college she won't be getting so much of maternity leave, ma'am. As a dentist, ma'am, we have two options right here in our country, ma'am. Either we can go for a like teaching job, or we can do our clinics. When in our clinics, there is a flexibility, ma'am. So that's what I utilize, ma'am. That in the morning, if she can go to college, ma'am. I was also doing college, ma'am. I was going also college, and I also wanted a teaching job, ma'am. But there is no one, ma'am, who has got everything in this whole world, ma'am. So I just decided, ma'am, that if I can do an evening clinic, ma'am, and she goes to a college, ma'am, so we can manage our children, ma'am. Next one.
That's a good point. So what is the stigma attached with a stay-at-home father in India and Southeast Asia? And I think we all know that there is a bit of a stigma attached to it. So why is there a stigma? And do you think that this arrangement is being more common, where the wife or the mother works and the husband takes a little bit more of a backseat to look after the children?
Yes, ma'am, it's happening now, ma'am. But ma'am, but stigma is there, ma'am, which I face. Means, for example, in today also, I mean, year 2022, ma'am, I mostly hear this, ma'am. Like, for example, a term "bechara," ma'am. Like, for example, mostly patients, what they come that oh bechara ghar pe dekhta hai, kind of thing, ma'am. When say it's a consultation job, ma'am. What we do, ma'am, we go to several clinics. Like we go in several clinics afternoon, ma'am. And I go to my father-in-law's clinic in the evening, ma'am, from 6:30 to 9, ma'am. So it's a consultation. Basically, I'm a root canal specialist, ma'am. So when there are patients at my in-laws clinic, I go there, ma'am. So, but mostly, ma'am, what the patients or neighbors or relatives, what they think is that, ma'am, this is not the thing to be done, ma'am. So mostly they ask, ma'am, that you should have your own clinic. You should not do consultations, or at least should not visit your in-laws, ma'am. So that's what they think, and what they use the word is bechara, means they feel sorry. That's quite hilarious, ma'am. And one patient, ma'am, which I want to tell him, is a retired, ma'am, army official. Ma'am. She's a female, and she said that the bechara, you used to help your wife. So normally I used to ignore, ma'am, but sometimes I ask patients that please enlighten me how I am bechara, ma'am. That if I go into half an hour cleaning in my in-laws, that how come it's not accepted by the society, ma'am. And that's the main reason, ma'am, that the females are not recognizing it, ma'am. Mostly they ask, ma'am, ma'am, sometimes you will feel hilarious, and they say that either you are residing at your in-laws house. Means if I go to an hours clinic consultation, it means that I reside at their home, ma'am. They want to judge, they usually judge by these things, but that quite sometimes hurtful as well, ma'am.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, so Tarun, if it was your father that was the dentist, and if you were working in your father's clinic, the stigma wouldn't be there, would it?
No,
because it's your wife's father.
Ma'am, when a lady can leave her house and go to another's house after marriage, ma'am, why can't a male can even practice, ma'am? Ma'am, that really, ma'am, is so sad, ma'am. I feel, in fact, sorry for them, ma'am, that they are not realizing the fact that this world is going so fast, ma'am, and these things don't even matter, ma'am. In fact, it doesn't matter to any of the patient, ma'am. They want the treatment to get, whether I'm practicing in laws or I'm practicing somewhere else, ma'am. These are some things, ma'am. Stigma is there, and ma'am, mostly my colleagues also say, ma'am, like, oh, you are sitting at your in-laws, ma'am. What to say, ma'am?
Yeah, and I think, personally, I think you're quite lucky that out of the two of you, one of your fathers is also a dentist, so within the family, you've got that profession, because I'm sure there are many other people out there that might be in your situation, but they don't have the option to work in a family member's dental clinic because they might be the only dentist in their whole family. So it doesn't matter if it's your father or your wife's father, you've got this option available. So use it, right?
Yes, ma'am. The only reason why would I not gone is just the ego part, ma'am. That what will I answer to the society, ma'am? They will ask me whether why you are going to in-laws, ma'am. So, but ma'am, it lies the option, ma'am, or what can I say? As you said, ma'am, we are lucky, ma'am, that we have a clinic already running, ma'am. But ma'am, the thing is that when you start your own clinic, ma'am, any problem occurs, ma'am, mostly often occurs in dental clinics, not like any diagnosis part or any treatment part. But when we work in a clinic which is already running, ma'am, there is a lot of pressure, ma'am, to deliver, ma'am. If I would have not delivered, ma'am, it's now 8 years now, ma'am. That clinic would have shut, ma'am. The clinic is growing. That means I can do something, but mostly the patient the relatives and something say that you have got a platform, ma'am, but we have utilized that platform. That's the major reason, ma'am, because I have several examples, ma'am, where their father and mother are both doctors, but they are not practicing in their clinics, ma'am. They have not utilized their what they were given, ma'am.
So, people associate the medical and dental profession as highly educated. And I think because people think that they're such difficult qualifications to have, they just assume that they are highly paid jobs, which you have told me is not particularly true for dentists. So did this pay factor, the fact that dentists don't get paid a lot in the first few years, did that play a factor in Neha, you going back to work, and Tarun, then you working with your father-in-law?
It did play a great factor, because I would like to elaborate on this question. Actually, in India, they don't have fair entrance exams. Like in NEET, we have the NEET that we have, the national entrance exam. It is a very the loopholes do exist in every system, right? But it is a very we can say it's a very loose system. When people get lower ranks, and if they have money, they can easily get admissions to the colleges. They don't take it seriously, and they don't even visit the college, and they sometimes they even get the MD and MS degrees just by sitting at home. So you can very well imagine how what are the working conditions, and how seriously they take their jobs, and how emotionally attached they are to their patients. So the people with higher qualifications, they don't matter. What matters is whether you have someone in a high on a higher post, someone that you know who can place you on a very high paying job, in a very high paying job. So whether you are qualified or not, it doesn't matter. You just should have a relative or someone you know that you can use to get a high paying job or not. So yes, it did play a factor in my going back to work, because early on in life we were not being paid very well, but we are from a well-off family, both of us. So our family supported us, and sometimes what happens is that many young interns and many young graduates don't get that much of a support from the family. So yes, and uh, when he was staying at home, things got really easy for me too, because he took care of my daughter, from changing nappies to feeding her, everything he did on his own.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they were staying with us, but we didn't want to put much pressure on them, because things that we can do for our children, we cannot trust them to do with so much of accuracy and preciseness. So, and we didn't want to keep a maid for that. So, and the part where we were living, the maids were not easily available there also. So, yes.
Yeah. And I think, if you can raise your own children yourself, you would rather do that than have a maid and a third party
Yes.
raising your children, because, you won't get those chances again in life. Also, the point that you said earlier about, having money to be able to buy, your way into a college. My dad also told me that. So my dad actually went to a university in Bombay. So my dad grew up in Bombay, and he
Okay.
told me the same thing. He told me that he was, I don't know, 5 marks or something off something getting into medical school. And if my grandparents had paid a large sum of money, then he could have got into medical school, because he was quite, just low by a few marks. And he told my grandparents he didn't want them paying for it, because, morally it's not right to just bribe your way into a university. But even my dad told me, and this was like 35 years ago, he said, if you have money, you can have anything you want in India, even if you are the dumbest person. If your parents have money, they can buy you a degree, they can buy you anything. And it's a very corrupt system, isn't it? So you also mentioned that you had a bit of postpartum depression as well. Was it after you had your firstborn, the 7-year-old child? So how was it supported by Tarun and your parents and your in-laws?
Yes. After giving birth, I don't know. There were so many things going on in side by side. Uh, at the hospital, actually, at the hospital, my in-laws and my parents, they had a huge fight over something, and I was so depressed, and because of that, he started going to the clinic before, and then he stopped going to the clinic, and I was so depressed. And what are we going to do now? And I just had my job with me. So and I was having such suicidal thoughts at the moment, after 1 week or 10 days after giving the birth, and I didn't have any interest in my child, what to do with her, and all of that was being done by my in-laws, and I just left her with them. They took care of her, and I was just sitting in a corner and just thinking about it. So I knew a bit about this clinical condition. So I bounced back, and he helped me a lot in that. He supported me, and he used to, explain things to me 5 times a day or 6 times a day, that please don't worry, and we'll bounce back, we'll take care of the situation, and everything is going to be all right. And he said one thing to me, that time is the biggest healer.
Mm.
And that was so true. Time was the biggest factor which got me back up on my knees. And maybe one of the reasons why I went back to work was also this, that I didn't want to stay at home all day long and sit in a corner and think about my condition and what
Mm.
was going on around me. So I thought that if I went back to work, at least I'll be away from all that, and I'll divert my mind, and I'll take care of my family. I'll start earning again. So that was that. And he supported me a lot in that.
Did going back to work so early after giving birth, you said 2 months, do you think, like, did that cause any type of depression or stress, knowing that you haven't even had much time at home with your new daughter and now you're going back to work as if nothing ever happened? Do you think that ever caused any depression for you?
Yes, it did. And I was really depressed that I have to go back to work. But like I said, he supported me, and he used to send videos of her, and he used to make me talk to her every like 3 hours. And whenever I used to get lunch break, and we used to be on video call
Yes, ma'am.
constantly. And my mother-in-law also, she took great care of my daughter. She used to make her sleep with her. She used to feed her, and she was a formula fed baby, and I have breastfed her about for 2.5 years, but it was mostly at night time and on demand feeding. So
Mm.
the bottle has to be from someone who the child trusts and loves. So both of them, they managed it very very well. And she used to tell me, my mother-in-law used to tell me over the phone that, Neha, don't worry, she's still sleeping. And when you'll be back, you'll have your food, then she'll be awake and you can have your time with her. So she was mostly sleeping for 6 months to 1 year when I
Mm.
left with her.
That's good. It's good that, you had that big support network around you, because, I don't know if you've heard the saying, I don't know if it's a popular saying in India, but in New Zealand, there's the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah, and it's like you have your parents' help and all your family's help, all your friends' help, just to raise this one child. And it really sounds like you had that, especially when you had to go back to your job. You also mentioned that you both had a love marriage and that you still have to make amends every time there's a scuffle or if there's disagreements with your father-in-law in the dental practice and things like that. So I guess, why are love marriages still sometimes met with resistance in the 21st century in India?
What I think is that Indian parents, they are very, very controlling, very, very controlling. Both of us
Yes.
parents are.
Yeah.
And if that's a big decision in life, that who you're choosing to marry your child. They didn't choose either of us. So we were not their choices. And I still remember when we were deciding on making them meet, we were the ones to tell them that you have to go to this place to meet them. So it was like the other way around. We were telling our parents to meet someone and we were accompanying them. So from the first meeting itself, so whenever we have any disagreements at home also, in between the two of us or from our in-laws, the end result is that we were not their choices. So in some corner of their hearts, they still not wholeheartedly accepted us. So it's okay, with time they will, and they don't have any other choice with them. So let it be.
Mm.
We left it there, so it'll be all right with time. But in the meanwhile, the end result is that we should not have any disagreements because of that. We should stay on the same page. And the end result should be that whenever we have any disagreements, we should, try to resolve it very quickly, because we have children in front of us. We can't set wrong examples for them that they are always fighting or
Yeah.
they are always in disagreement. So whenever we have a fight, we always explain it to our daughter that, you have disagreements and you should not be afraid of them. What is important is that you should resolve your issues quickly, And it should not be, you should not go to bed angry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So back to the you working at the college and Doran, you being more of the stay-at-home parent. Has this impacted on your children in any way compared to other children that have the conventional stay-at-home mother and the father who works? Have you noticed any like differences with your children?
Yes, ma'am. Mostly what I have seen them that they have like this the friends of my daughter, they have like a typical household man, like a full working housewife, ma'am, as a mother, and father is working. And so what I wanted to inculcate in my child, ma'am, see, for example, we should have some compassionate ground, ma'am. But basically what we do, ma'am, mostly what we follow is that what we are doing, we live in a bubble, ma'am, that what we are doing is right and the others are wrong, ma'am. So, like for example, I had an opportunity, I had a choice, and I followed it. That I will work and I will support my wife in each and every aspect. Ma'am, why should she only cook? Ma'am, I cook along with her, ma'am. Why should only she do all household work, ma'am? I divided from the day one, ma'am. I remember, ma'am, that what the works are there, household work or like clinical work, we divide it equally, ma'am, from the day one. So that thing I wanted to inculcate in my daughter, ma'am, as well as now the son, ma'am, that you have to do your household work starting initially, which I never did, ma'am. Basically, I started thinking on these aspects after my marriage only, ma'am. And Dr. Nia helped me in that, ma'am. Mostly what this feminism aspect came after that only, ma'am. And Dr. Ma'am, because I grew in a household, ma'am, where my mother was a full-time ma'am housemaker, ma'am. So it was very difficult for me to like change, ma'am. This man, but we are human beings. That's the basic quality which we forget, ma'am. Let we can change at any time, ma'am. Ma'am, what's in cooking, ma'am? What's in doing household, ma'am? It's the only stigma, ma'am, that I want to do it. That's not there, ma'am. That's the thing I'm seeing in my child, ma'am. That's from the day one, ma'am. She's seeing that my father is equally involved in every work, ma'am, of house or clinic, ma'am. So that's the thing, ma'am, which I'm observing, and that's a good thing, ma'am. And that has to be there, ma'am. Basically, we keep at stake on the common sense, ma'am. Ma'am, Dr. Neha also spend time in school, college. I also spending time in school studying, ma'am. Then why should only Dr. Neha do household work and why she not should do clinical work, and whether I should do only outdoor works, ma'am? That's the basically excuse, ma'am. There's the male partners give, ma'am. Oh, I have to do this outdoor stuff, ma'am. So you manage at home, and that's the wrong thing, ma'am. And also, ma'am, the basically females agree to that. That's also wrong thing, ma'am. They should not agree, ma'am. No, no. Why are you saying there's only household work I will give? That's the thing, ma'am. And then the stigma part, ma'am. But I think so, ma'am, this is changing, ma'am, and that has to change from the female and male as well, ma'am. And then we are giving the same education to our child as well.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Like if your daughter's 7 years old, but if she can see that her dad is cooking and her dad is cleaning, then that sets her standards for, when she's older and when she wants to get married, she knows that women and men are equal because she's been raised in a household like that. I think what you said is exactly correct, because if you are raised in a household where the mother does all the housework and the dad is just always at work or something, then you subconsciously would think, oh, that's how my life will be when I'm older and when I get married. And then it's like a vicious cycle because nothing ever improves. So I think you're setting a great example for your children. Dr. Neha, with you, you're showing that you can be really highly educated and you can have a great career and have a family and children. And Dr. Tarun, you're showing that you can still have a career but also look after your family. It's, it looks like the two of you are very equal in everything you do, which is really, really good. I think, and like you said, things are changing in India, and I think they probably are. I have family in India as well, and I think things are changing, but very, very slowly. Yeah, probably not changing as fast as it has changed in the Western world, but getting there. Yeah, so my last question was going to be, is there anything that you would do differently, now that your daughter is 7 and you've got an 8-month-old, and you've learned what worked and didn't work when you made these choices 7 years ago? Is there anything you would have done differently, or do you think everything you did has all worked out for the better?
Differently.
I think so, ma'am. Yes, I think so that worked out, ma'am.
Everything,
Because yes, ma'am.
everything worked out well in the end, and it still is working. See, we learn through our mistakes, right? So if in the first scenario, if we didn't get to make mistakes, then what would we learn? So I don't think that we would do anything differently. And what we have learned is that we shouldn't be overly emotional in anything, because time heals everything.
Mm.
We should always keep our cool. And sometimes I just yell at my children. I just get that mommy brain, and it calms me down. But Neha, please have some patience. So I think that you should complement each other, and the qualities that you are missing, they have to be definitely, the missing pieces are definitely there in your partner if you just give them a chance. So they would hold you up very beautifully, and they will support you
Yes, ma'am, the
through all
same
this.
thing, ma'am. Because I feel, ma'am, sometimes in the short term, ma'am, we think like there's a frog in a well, ma'am. Like he thinks, ma'am, that's the whole world, ma'am. For example, that the part, ma'am, when she was suffering from PPD, ma'am, that's only 6 to 7 months, ma'am. That passes so fast, ma'am. But in that time, ma'am, mostly persons go into depression, ma'am. But if we think that it's a short term of period of time, ma'am, and we have to take decisions for that time only, ma'am. For example, when I left my job, then mostly parents like they panic, ma'am. Oh, you have left your
The
job, and then.
parents are
But
depressed.
I knew, ma'am, that what I have to take care of that, ma'am, Dr. Neha, as well as my child, newborn child. That was the priority, ma'am. And that will go after 6 months. That you can practice more after 6 months, ma'am. You can earn more, ma'am. But if you want everything at every time, ma'am, that's not possible. I think, ma'am, you have to sacrifice something, ma'am, and you have to gain something at the same time.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, it was really nice to speak to both of you and to get both of your opinion on this situation. That's why I liked interviewing you both together. For those of you listening, if you've got any feedback on this episode, you can message us at coconutchats@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment under our YouTube or Facebook or Instagram pages, which are all at Coconut Chats. And if you've got any ideas for future episodes, you can always reach out to us and we will reply. But thank you so much, Dr. Neha and Dr. Tarun. It was really lovely speaking to you. And I hope if any of you listeners out there are facing any problems like this, that this conversation with my guest today sheds some light and hopefully guides you in some way. But until next time, everyone, please take care and goodbye.